You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
The Oregon Health Authority no longer reporting details about individual coronavirus-related deaths because they don't need to scare us any further. They're guys in office. The details about the Rona deaths, we're going to minimize those because it's not a good look. Because now that it's on President Biden, we can't dump it on Trump anymore. This is his fault for his response to the Rona. That's what we're talking about today here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Why are we talking about it on a real estate podcast? Because it's a topic that needs addressing. Before we jump into it, if you're new here, thanks for being here. If you've subscribed lately, thank you so much. My name is Sean Reynolds. I'm the owner of a couple of real estate companies, but I read the news that you want to hear. Let's go. Okay, so this was KGW8, a local Oregon. Prior to Wednesday, Oregon Health Authority had reported basic details about every COVID-19 linked death in the state since the first death was reported on March 14th, 2020. That's when we were all told to live in fear, hide our identities, and wear our masks. It's going to be a long, arduous process getting through this COVID-19, but we can do it together. 15 days for the lockdown, or 15 days to curve the whatever, what was it? Flatten the curve. Yeah. Year later, here we are. Those deaths, yeah, we're going to start describing those differently. Not as much information because it doesn't really fit the narrative of what we want to have out there. COVID deaths, not so good. Portland, Oregon, 11 months since the first COVID-19 case was reported in Oregon, the state's health agency says it will no longer share details about individual deaths connected to the virus. That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, all of a sudden it was okay right up to the election point, and then, get a new president. Am I connecting dots here that are out of line? Is this so transparent that it's obvious that you might think, that's not the case? But it does appear that that's what's going on. The Oregon Health Authority announced the change on Wednesday. We're no longer going to give you the true deets on people who are dying because that doesn't fit our narrative very well. Prior to Wednesday, the Oregon Health Authority had reported basic details about every COVID-19 linked death in the state since the first death was reported. Those details included age, which county the person lived in, when they tested positive for the virus, when they died, and where they died. We're no longer going to give you these details. And here's why. We're going to read about it. They're going to give you an explanation that just sounds like nonsense because it is. That basic information has given Oregonians insight into who is most affected by COVID-19. The first day that information wasn't available was Wednesday, yesterday, when 20 more deaths were reported, but we didn't get the deets on it because it's no longer important. All you need to know, people died, not the other stuff. We're not sharing that anymore with you. Instead, the Oregon Health Authority is now telling Oregonians to use its public dashboards to review general information and trends about coronavirus-related deaths in the state. Because the fear factor, no longer important. Just we're moving on with our lives. Yeah, that whole stuff that we were just pushing on you day after day after day. That's no longer important. Our guys in office is what we're doing. Oregon Health Authority Director Patrick Allen offered the following explanation in a press release Wednesday. Here's the explanation, all right? See if you can follow this. Every death from COVID-19 represents a loss, all right? But how many of those do we question? We question a lot. I question a lot of those. It's like, really? Was that really a Rona death? Or are you just throwing that in there because you're going to get paid more for that death if you check the little Rona box? Yeah, I think so. Every death from COVID-19 represents a loss. All right, every death is a loss, right? Doesn't matter whether it's COVID-19 or whatever. Human beings dying, not a good thing, and it's a loss, especially for those who knew them best, family, friends, and loved ones. But when we reported them as being lost before, it was all Trump's problem. It was all Trump's fault. And we gave all the details then. We just did. And we weren't focusing on the family, friends, and loved ones. We wanted that news story to be out there so that you would be afraid and cower in fear. That is why we have listed each case. Moving forward, we will share aggregated COVID-19 related deaths on Oregon Health Authority's public dashboards, which are updated daily and give you very little information. Someone died. Oh, another one. Someone died. That's about all we're going to give you. As the death toll from the virus has climbed, validating and reporting each death has had an impact on our daily reporting. It's interesting that it took you almost a year to figure that out. Is this going to impact our daily reporting? Let's ask that a year into these statistics. Maybe it's only 10 months. But we get in a year. This has impacted our daily reporting. We're going to switch things up. You no longer get all the information because you don't need that information. We've already accomplished what we need to with the information, which was just basically putting the fear of God in you that the Rona is lurking behind every corner. You might die if you just breathe. If you do something as simple as breathing, you might get the Rona and you might keel over. I mean, you might. But the way this was handled in the media, what a bunch of fear-mongering. We will continue to honor the lives of each person lost to the pandemic, but in a different way, with less statistics, and we won't really talk about it. We're going to kind of ignore it. That's the different way that we're going to handle this. The dashboard will provide additional information on COVID-19 related deaths that has not been accessible in a visual format before. So we are switching it up just a little bit to make you think you're getting something new and better, but you're actually getting something worse that has less information. But that's what we're running with because this is an official statement and you will believe it. And this is including data on trends, underlying conditions, and resident setting. Does any of that matter? Do we care anymore? I don't. It's like, okay, we're still in a global pandemic. People are going to die. We know that. The thing to focus on is let's get this thing going. Let's get our lives back to whatever normalcy we can. Let's get those restaurants open. Let's get those economies open because you have pushed the fear factor long enough. It's go time, people. This dashboard offers the public a clearer picture of the collective toll the virus has taken, but it will never detract from the importance of each Oregonian who is no longer with us. Okay, that's a bunch of nonsense. Truly it is. As of Wednesday, 1,924 Oregonians have died in connection with COVID-19. And I think Washington is somewhere around, a little over 3,000. So we shut the economy down over the deaths, arguably over the deaths of, call it, say Washington has like 3,500. So then you're at another 5,500 people. 5,500 people died and we shut down both of those economies. To me, those numbers do not add up. I don't want to see any more people die than we can manage. But you've also got a whole bunch of other factors going on here. You've destroyed people's lives in so many other ways by these shutdowns that it's ridiculous. And now you've got mental health care issues. You've got suicide rates going up, divorce rates going up, all that good stuff. Because guess what? People are freaked out and they don't want to go through any more of these lockdowns. So the damage has been done. It has been done. Now that we got a new president in office, it seems like, we can report this to you differently in a much more abbreviated manner. We're going to have you look at this website over here. We're no longer going to do it here. So how many more news stories are we going to see like this? We're going to start seeing them pretty often, aren't we? Things that we were told were really super important are going to kind of fall by the wayside. We're just going to be in that space where, oh yeah, okay, we used to do that. We were told that was super, super important. Now that we have a vaccine, and now that we have a new president in town, newly elected president, we seem to be going a different direction. We seem to be focusing on other things. And I find that really interesting. This explanation here, to me, is it's so ridiculous. It's like, we're talking about losses and loved ones. They're still stats. They're still death statistics. And what you were pushing on us as so important before has now become, you know what, we just don't really want to share that information with you because it'll never detract from the importance of each Oregonian who is no longer with us. And it is sad. People have died from the coronavirus, but to use this whole thing as just a ruse to shut things down, that's where I'm kind of like, yeah, I am not on board with that. This could have been handled in so many different ways. And it has been by different governors and different mayors and different countries with all kinds of varying results. But to shut two pretty major state economies down, Washington's bigger than Oregon, but still, to shut them down over this, no, you don't do that. That's silliness. That's not where we should be at as a country. I just don't see that as reality. And yet we've lived through it, right? It's like, we're doing what? Why? Oh, because the data and the science say so. But the data and the science don't say so. This is still what we're doing. You're shut down. Your restaurant, yep, no longer in business. You got to close down. Even though we haven't really correlated anything that kind of makes sense here. This is what we feel like is probably going to solve it. It's been interesting. The coronavirus numbers have come down a little bit, but not enough to warrant reopening. You know what I mean? There hasn't been that big drop off of, okay, so we've got all these good factors going on. Hasn't really been enough of that. But need to get those economies going, need to get that money back pumping into the economy. And for all these politicians that have put their areas, put their states, put their jurisdictions under lockdowns, they're like, yeah, well, we can't really justify this any longer. Therefore, let's just open them up. I mean, that's what's happening in California, right? I mean, it is. That's what's happening here in Oregon. You're going to see stuff get opened back up if it's not already. I'm not really sure on the whole Oregon thing, how they're doing. But just stuff like this. Okay, we're no longer really going to focus on that. Don't look over here. Look over here. And then all of a sudden, we're going to see statistically, we are doing way better. Oh, this has been an amazing turnaround by President Biden. He has really addressed, in the second half of the fourth quarter of this game, he has really addressed what needs to happen, and he is laying the groundwork for a future that we can live with coronavirus and fear every single day of our lives for the rest of our lives. That's kind of what they're setting us up for. Oh, there's different strains out there. Oh, you got to be careful of that strain. Oh, you got to be careful of that strain. Because if you get it and you're within a certain age demographic, there's only a 99.99987% chance that you'll live. Those are numbers. Those are difficult numbers, right? Now, this whole thing has just been, to me, it's been really frustrating to see. And I'm sure for you out there, it's been frustrating to experience. So much loss as far as the whole business world goes. And that's not the be all and end all. And yeah, there are people who say, oh yeah, but you're not caring about human lives. I care about human lives. I think there's just a way to blend the two, but that's just me. Keep people safe, keep the economy going. That's what would have happened in the past. But it's not happening now, and this is kind of our new reality. And it's like, all right, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to call out stuff like this. This is pretty silly. Every death from COVID-19 represents a loss, especially for those who know them best, family, friends, and loved ones. Okay, we don't need to reiterate that. We already know that. But you've been doing it for 10 months or whatever it is already. And now all of a sudden, we're going to reimagine, rethink the information that you now get. That's the way I see it. How do you guys see it? Do you guys see this differently? When you see this kind of article, do you just think, oh yeah, well, I mean, they've got our best interest at heart, and they're just not going to share the deets that we really want to know. But you know, they're keeping us safe, they're keeping us alive, and there's no self-interest in this storyline at all. It's you know, as the death toll from the virus has climbed, validating and reporting each death has had an impact on our daily reporting. Therefore, after 10 months, we're not going to do it anymore. When you read that, do you kind of think, I call BS. This is some real nonsense. What are we doing here? But don't worry, it will never detract from the importance of each Oregonian who is no longer with us, because our narrative is slightly different now, and we need to tell a different picture. We need to run a different story. You guys no longer get that information. We're moving on. We've got a new narrative to spin, and it's the new strains coming out. Watch out for those new strains. They might get you. You know what? The bottom line is life will get you. People don't like it when I say that. But in the end, no one gets out alive. I mean, how many more cliches can I say? Life is dangerous. There's a certain risk to life. You can't hunker down and cower in your corner with your mask on. You can, but your life is not going to be very enjoyable. So when you read stories like this, question them. I do. It's kind of like, okay, why are we doing that? Well, because it's no longer advantageous to have this data out there. That's my opinion. It's kind of the way I see it. How do you guys see it? Let me know in the comments. Again, thank you for tuning in. That's it for me on this one. I'm Sean Reynolds. I'm out of here, but I will catch you guys soon on the next episode of the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. See you then. Bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.